Coming up on One Detroit, we'll talk with Michigan-born actor and filmmaker Bruce Campbell about his new independent film, Ernie and Emma. Plus, we'll examine how some local independent movie theaters are managing to survive while many others have closed. It's all coming up next on One Detroit.
Across our Masco family of companies, our goal is to deliver better living possibilities and make positive changes in the neighborhoods where we live, work, and do business. Masco, a Michigan company since 1929.
Support also provided by the Cynthia and Edsel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit PBS.
The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit PBS. Through our giving, we are committed to meeting the needs of the communities we serve statewide to help ensure a bright and thriving future for all. Learn more at dtefoundation.com.
Nissan Foundation, and viewers like you.
Hello, I'm Zozette Gear, and this is One Detroit. Actor and filmmaker Bruce Campbell is a Metro Detroit native who's well known for his independent horror film, The Evil Dead. He and director Sam Raimi made the cult classic with a group of Michigan friends in 1981. Campbell returned to Michigan recently for a screening of his newest indie film, Ernie and Emma, at the Redford Theatre, where The Evil Dead premiered. One Detroit's Chris Jordan caught up with Campbell to talk about the new movie.
So just tell me a bit about the film and about this homecoming for it.
Well, the Redford, of course, is the mother theater for us. It is still one of the great remaining monoliths of motion picture history, almost 100 years old now. We must support these places because they will tear them down. You know, it was old when we premiered Evil Dead in 81. You know what I mean? So that's how old this place is. Nothing has changed. Volunteers have done an amazing job. That was the key importance, to go back to the Redford with a movie that, frankly, is off the grid. No studios were allowed to interfere or intervene. And I tell you, it's really fun to do a movie with no notes. And I say that flippantly, but it's everything to me, because as an artistic person, the only reason you have to listen to Paramount's notes is because they put up the money. Even if it's kind of a lousy note, but that's the weird relationship the arts and commerce have. You know, it was a good chance now. Finally, my wife and I, we put up the money. We're like, let's do an age-appropriate movie that it's sort of like, it's Hallmark with drugs, alcohol, swearing, and infidelity.
My final wish is for you to spread my ashes. The letters will guide you to each place. Basically, I want one last hurrah with you.
You went too soon.
This might be a good way to finally spend some quality time together. Oh! And maybe even resolve a few issues along the way.
You know, it's funny. Emma made me promise her that I wouldn't punch you in the face.
What's funny about that?
She's dead. She'll never know.
It's the story of Ernie Tyler. He is the Rogue Valley's #1 pear salesman, 3 years in a row. He's the pear guy. It's on his license. And, you know, he's a rearview mirror guy. He drives a 20-year-old car because that's kind of when things were hopping in his little valley. And his wife dies. And he's one of these guys who is probably one of the least prepared humans to have a spouse leave. So drop a bomb on a guy who doesn't like bombs dropped on him. And just see what happens. See if he makes it through. See if he crawls from the wreckage.
The people who've been following your career know you for horror and slapstick comedy. And there's a bit of the physical comedy in there too, but it's a very different sort of film for you, where we really see a different side of you as an actor. And I'm curious how you came to this project and this story. It's
a pivot. I'll admit that. You know, a lot of it was just a yearning for a good part. That's all an actor ever wants. I tell writers, man, if you want to get an actor, write a big, fat, juicy part. The monologues, the speeches, the single tear, the highs, the lows. I would have jumped all over the script like a cheap suit, because you know, a lot of what I'll get these days, and any actor gets, you get a script where the lines could be interchangeable. And there's hospital procedures, police procedurals. That doesn't get me excited. You know what I mean? And shotguns and boomsticks and quippy one-liners and fake blood doesn't get me excited anymore either. You know, I've sort of hung it up because I'm too old for that shit. It really is that simple. And now, where's my brain? I want to do stuff that tells a story of loss and heartache and renewal, you know, because when I was 21 doing Evil Dead, I hadn't experienced that much of life now. Now that I'm 68, yeah, now some has happened. I've been married for 35 years. So if you're married that long, not every one of those years is going to be, you know, of one for the ages. You might have some real stinkers in there. And I have. And so why not write about it? Because everybody, you know, I was almost going to start my Q&A this way, saying, raise your hand in the audience if you've lost a loved one. You know, everybody has. So it's a story hopefully people can relate to. You know, and you want to take a character on a journey. Ernie hopefully is a better man by the end of the movie. So I like journeys. I like, look, I like redemption because I do want the audience to root for Ernie. You know, he can be an idiot, but he's the idiot you got.
You and your wife made this one completely outside Hollywood, outside studios, probably the most independent thing you've done since the original Evil Dead. What inspired you to like totally break off from the system like that, and how was that experience?
It's the only way to be a free little bird that flies around, you know. It was a glorious experience that I will never go back, and I'll be honest with you, because I'm an adult. I'm a professional. I've done my 10,000 hours. I've laid a lot of bricks. I know how to do this. Most people in the film business now are 25 years old, and God bless every single one of them. But I don't want to be in the learning world of a director or a writer. Part of the beauty is over the years, you know when to tap out. You know when to go, that's not going to work. So what we tried to do is the movie takes place in Oregon. Mm-hmm. It did not originally. It was Detroit. My dad was a Detroit madman. 50s, 60s, 70s for, you know, McManus, John and Adams. Campbell Ewald, my dad would introduce himself. Hi, Chuck Campbell, Campbell Ewald, even though he had no relation to the guy who ran the company, but he had fun with that. But my wife said, hey, buddy boy, we're putting up the money for this. Wouldn't you like to sleep in your own bed? And it really hit me. I was like, I've never slept in my own bed in the last 25 years. So I went, you know, you could. So he's just a sales guy, and our area is the home of Harry and David. And it's on the Arches. You see a lot of these fallow pear orchards everywhere. But I've been watching the pear industry die like I watched the auto industry die in Detroit. And I find it very poignant and very just, I mean, they used to do pears in the Oregon, in our valley for decades and decades. And now it's a lot of wine. They just put wine in. I think they can make more money. So those things really resonated with me. The other thing that we did was let's shoot when you should really shoot this movie. Not in January and not in Bulgaria. I've done a lot of things in places that just should have never been in that place at that time. Because it's for the convenience of the people, again, who are putting up the money. You want to air it on TV at this time, you got to make it at this time. You don't care if it's good for the movie or not. Mm-hmm. So we shot in June. I mean, we caught the Applegate Reservoir, one of these beautiful reservoirs near us. I mean, 95% full. You look at the thing, you go, wow, what is that? And the air is clear. There's no wildfire smoke. The grass is green. The valleys, everything is just lovely. So, you know, that's the stuff you can do when you're running the show. And as a result, the movie looks exactly how it should look.
While you wound up changing the setting from Detroit to Oregon, there's obviously still some little Detroit references peppered in there. And of course, a lot of your, you know, collaborators on it are longtime collaborators going back to Evil Dead. I saw in the credits that Joe LaDuca score was recorded in Ferndale here.
Yeah. You know, when I knew this was happening, I blew the Evil Dead dog whistle. I really did. I mean, Kurt Roth, who shot the movie, was a crew member on Evil Dead. Mike Ditz, who photographed the poster for the movie, was our set photographer. And what that does, that gives you familiarity. When I work with Joe LaDuca, we watch the movie together. We don't have to beat it to death. Joe goes, yeah, I get it. I know what you need. It was a great chance to surround myself. Kay Davis, she edited the movie. She cut Evil Dead 2. But so they have the same skills. You're just telling them to light a human, not a monster. I want filmmakers to know it's easier now than it was. The equipment's smaller. It's cheaper. The lights are about this big now. A little microphone you can clip on your shirt. Editing software, music software. I want to encourage filmmakers from Michigan, Detroit, Indiana, all the parts where they think they don't make movies here. I can't do it here. Yeah, you can. Get a couple of buddies together, pool your resources, make a movie. Doesn't have to be a horror movie, whatever you want. I want filmmakers to feel empowered. People go, well, you're Bruce Campbell. You could just make a phone call. Well, it took a while to get to the point where I could do that, but I'm doing the same thing that I'm asking you to do. Just get a bunch of friends together and make a movie.
Southeast Michigan has been home to several independent movie theaters over the years. Although some of these movie houses have closed their doors, others have managed to remain open by finding new ways to bring in revenue and attract audiences. One Detroit's Bill Kubota and Chris Jordan visited some of these historic theaters to find out what it takes for them to survive.
On Detroit's east side, the nonprofit Friends of the Alger Theater has worked to save their idle movie house for decades, which serves as a community billboard.
We put on our marquee messages weekly, right? And we make enough money from that to pay our water bill and our electric bill.
Alger friend Jackie Grant says this movie house formally showed its last feature film nearly 40 years ago. She found proof up in the projection booth.
Friday the 13th, part 5 in 1985. It's right there.
They didn't come back to get the reel, huh?
Apparently not.
The Alger opened in 1935. In more recent years, the plan, create a community center and maybe show some movies again, but not likely with these projectors.
We're in my favorite place. This is the lobby of the Alger Theater. I know you're thinking it's just a mess, but that's changing as we speak.
Overhead, the lobby's getting a new roof, but there's so much more work to do. Meanwhile, on Detroit's northwest side, the Redford, one of the few independent movie theaters in southeast Michigan, is also owned by a nonprofit and has been since the late 1970s. Here I'm meeting film writer and theater volunteer John Monahan. The fight always seems to be, like, how do you get people to come to a theater instead of staying at home and watching Netflix and...
That's been a challenge, about what to show. And certainly our content has changed quite a bit in the last 20 years as our audience has kind of aged out.
Thank you.
Nobody is paid at the Redford Theater. We're all volunteers. It is a good business model. The nonprofit business model is very good for a theater like ours because it's hard to make money in the theater business. So it takes a lot of pressure off, certainly, when you don't have a big payroll. We really do try to create an experience here as much as we can, going to the movies like you would have in the 1940s or 50s. And part of that, for a lot of us, is the ability to show actual film on film, which we do quite regularly on our old late 1950s Norelco projectors that project both 70 millimeter and 35 millimeter with carbon rods that make a spark between them like they would have used back in the day.
Is finding the carbon rods and sourcing those a problem
that's
in itself?
That's a whole nother element. Yeah. There's only a finite amount of those around, and we're always trying to find somebody who's got a stash of them. And sometimes when we do find the carbon rods, they're not exactly the right size, so I've been stockpiling some of those for trades. Maybe we'll find somebody who needs those and has the ones we need. And of course the film prints too are not being newly struck the way they were, so we're working with antique film prints too, many of which are found through local collectors who have been very generous in letting us use their prints.
This is Radio KSIK. You've been listening to Music for Old Invalids.
But there's nothing like seeing, like recently American Graffiti, for instance, we had a Technicolor print of that, which looked just stunning. Upcoming, we're showing Clockwork Orange on film. Heck, we even have a print of Home Alone that we're showing a 35 print of. And we, of course, we don't just show 35 millimeter, we have state-of-the-art digital projection, which looks quite good. As much of a purist as I am on film, we have really, really nice digital projection here too. This is the...
When you enter the Redford, you'll encounter some ways it raises money to keep running.
Often people will come over here to the counter where Larry the t-shirt guy designs shirts for the different programs. We have a 50-50 raffle counter over here where folks walk away with maybe $100 in cash prizes. Over here is the wall where, kind of paying tribute to the famous folks that have been through the theater. Probably most famously, you know, Bruce Campbell from The Evil Dead, he was here.
And one of the reasons why this theater is iconic to a lot of horror fans is this is, of course, where The Evil Dead premiered.
Yeah, we're really proud of that. Yeah, the fact that both the first two Evil Deads and the short film that, you know, was that they got seed money to make the feature with, also premiered here.
Right there.
And we're also really proud that the more recent horror classic, It Follows, you know, has its opening sequence that was filmed right here in the theater too. And we're showing that this year for its 10th anniversary. Extends all the way up to the projection.
At the Redford, more sights to behold, not just on the screen. The decor, considered exotic back in the day, adorns many walls throughout.
That Asian motif that it was designed with originally in the 20s became out of fashion during World War II, and the entire theater was painted a battleship gray. And it really wasn't until the Motor City Theater Organ Society purchased the theater in 1977 that that restoration began, and it's ongoing.
The Bartola Instrument Company built the organ that has been here since the theater opened. It remains virtually unchanged today.
But as you can see, it's back. It's back to its original grandeur. There's not a bad seat in this house, but it's a pretty large screen. Some people like to sit right here at the edge. It's a nice vantage point.
What do you hear from other people who run independent theaters in the state? Do you talk much with other theater owners? Or?
That's a good question. I have great interest in the other theaters that are doing similar to what we're doing. Certainly the Detroit Film Theater, which is still just so wonderful, and the Michigan Theater in Ann Arbor, and the Penn Theater and what they're doing, which is also, you know, on that volunteer model. That's a huge success story, the way they were able to save that neighborhood theater and, you know, and keep that going.
Then there's the Senate Theater in Southwest Detroit, also built in the 1920s and still operating.
And that's another organ society that actually runs the Senate. Believe it or not, there's 2 organ societies in our city.
When you're hearing those stories of other theaters and what they're doing, how many are continuing to make a go of it as a for-profit, and how many are kind of embracing the nonprofit model?
Yeah, the nonprofit model seems to be pretty predominant. I mean, look at the profit model. Certainly didn't work for the Main Art Theater or the Maple Theater, which, you know, both of those are gone, which is really sad. Something's got to take the place of those venues, because we don't in Detroit right now have a proper art house that's showing the modern stuff, and that's got to happen too.
The Howell Theater in Livingston County, another old movie house. A couple of decades ago, it was split into 2 screens. The lobby was a diner for a while. It became the historic Howell Theater when Toledo native Tyler DePero bought it 10 years ago. Tell me a bit about the history of the theater. You said it's 96 years old?
Yeah, we turned 96 December 11th of this year. So it was built in 1827, it opened December 11th, 1828. It was the first talkie theater in Livingston County. The first movie that played here was called Show People, directed by King Vidor.
It wasn't silent, but no audible dialogue. This one featured technology called synchronized sound, so there was music that came in on cue.
Back then, it was just one screen, and they had actually like vaudeville acts that would play, that would like go on before the movie started.
Were you scared or apprehensive buying like a small town independent movie theater in 2014?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big, totally a big risk. I moved to Howell, moved to Michigan for the theater. mean, I'd done this research, like making a list of like what makes a good downtown, if that's local shops, walkable downtown, different activities throughout the year, having people in the community wanting this movie theater space to reopen. There isn't like a how to operate a movie theater guidebook, and like there isn't a website where you can go and find that out. And like hiring employees and running the Kickstarter campaign to raise money for the projectors. There are people that certainly come into the theater that are like, man, like I wish I had your job. Like you it's like the dream job of like operating a theater, and you have to love it. Like it's all the time, it's all day, it's all night. You take it home with you. People come in like they went on their first date here, they met their wife here, talk about the nostalgic memories of it, that kind of appreciation and like connection with like a downtown movie theater is like over like a chain where like there's not really that nostalgia for like a big theater chain. This is theater too.
DePero's finding ways to better engage the community, find revenue streams by hosting weddings and other things.
We've had concerts, improv comedy, we have church here every Sunday. This theater. The stage I'd put in 2014. But the original stage that was here, like in 1928, that's actually behind the screen here. Those vaudeville acts had performed on when the theater first opened. You can tap dance a little bit or do a little dance or something. Or...
I don't think I'll do either of those things. DePero has made other smaller additions to the historic Howell. Some, it seems, just for people like him.
This red light's kind of like the movie magic. Like we're going up to where the projectors are at, like where all the magic happens.
Yes.
So this is kind of like the Willy Wonka terror tunnel of it all.
All right. Upstairs, more remnants of the past. Some original Art Deco seats, an idle 35mm projector, along with more modern technology to take its place.
The movies come on a hard drive like this, the DCP, Digital Cinema Package. This is for Lost Boy. It's not like film where it's on a film reel, but it's on a drive like that. And
wow, that's 173 gigabytes for the Lost Boys.
Here's our vintage marquee letters. They actually stopped making these letters, so they're very vintage. And
oh, wow.
Put those up by hand on a rod outside.
Yeah.
With a pincher claw. You can see like the sides, there's little hooks on there.
Oh, yeah.
So when they hook onto the slotted slots on side of the marquee.
How old are these? Did these come with the theater?
Yeah, some of these came with the theater, and then some I did buy additional letters. But over the last couple of years, they actually stopped producing these letters altogether. So we have to like tape the backs or glue them when they break. DePero is getting by in this for-profit enterprise by building a following. Howell has become a destination for independent moviegoers from places like Lansing, Ann Arbor, and Detroit. On social media, they'll put out like a list of all the cities it's opening in, and it's like, like New York, LA, Howell, Michigan. Why is it playing there? Like, why are they the only theater that's showing this movie? And then they come out and they discover us, and they love the space, and who else would be showing this movie other than us? And like,
yeah, well, I mean, that's definitely how I discovered you guys, was when you were the only theater in Michigan showing the Babadook at first.
3 sharp knocks. Babadook.
Yeah, like that's like the Babadook, like.
You'll see him if you.
Like after the movie was done, like when audiences kind of come out and they just talk to like other people in the theater about the movie, like that's kind of the other rewarding thing about it is like, it's like when I see a movie at like a chain theater, it's like go in, see the movie, and you like leave. And there's not really any connection or appreciation or discussion after, and yeah, so. While the historic Howell Theater has its community of film enthusiasts, Detroit's historic Alger Theater engages its community, but that has little to do with the movies.
Right now, we are doing HOPE applications with the city for property tax exemption. We are the leaders in HOPE applications for all the community partners around the city. So we're doing that good work, and we've been doing it for a number of years here.
Here, the coming attraction, an overlook along East Warren Avenue.
We're on the upper deck of the Alger Theater, a great outdoor space that we'll be using for events very shortly. We haven't used it much because we haven't had a bathroom for about 30 years, but that's changing as we speak. We've probably put right now into this building, which the public doesn't really know, close to $500,000. It doesn't show because you don't see plumbing outside, you don't see electrical, you don't see taking asbestos out. Those are not the sexy items in any of this.
More money needed. A few $1 million, Grant said, to keep restoring a place to serve the Morningside, East English Village, and Cornerstone Village neighborhoods. Volunteers here, like the Redford on the other side of town, just trying to hold on to their historic structures by bringing people together.
Film especially is a real, like a social art. I think it's sad that people are watching Casablanca on their phones. I think to see it in an auditorium, there's nothing like it.
Oh, you must be kidding.
So the event kind of is its own reward.
And since producing this report, the Alger Theatre in Detroit has undergone several improvements. That'll do it for this week's show. Thank you for watching. Head to the One Detroit website for all the stories we're working on, follow us on social media, and sign up for our newsletter.
Across our Masco family of companies, our goal is to deliver better living possibilities and make positive changes in the neighborhoods where we live, work, and do business. Masco, a Michigan company since 1929.
Support also provided by the Cynthia and Edsel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit PBS.
The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit PBS. Through our giving, we are committed to meeting the needs of the communities we serve statewide to help ensure a bright and thriving future for all. Learn more at dtefoundation.com.
Nissan Foundation, and viewers like you.